The late afternoon sun usually softened the world in Viridia, but today it was a blinding glare, turning the intersection near the grocery store into a hostile shimmer. I was walking with my grandson Leo, his sticky hand in mine as we navigated the parking lot, the scent of exhaust and bakery bread in the air. Suddenly, the peaceful routine shattered with the screech of tires and the blur of a sedan skidding toward us. Instinct took over, and I threw myself over Leo, shielding him from the impact. The sedan clipped us, sending us skidding across the rough asphalt. Pain exploded in my back as the pavement tore at my skin. Leo cried out, but it wasn't from the collision, it was from the scrape on his cheek. We lay there, the world chaotic around us, distant sirens wailing in the background. Paramedics arrived quickly, their hands firm as they tended to me. Leo was mostly scraped and bruised, but I was in critical condition, losing blood from a deep wound on my back. In the sterile hospital hallway, Marcus's mother, Beatrice Dubois, stormed in, fury emanating from her as she bypassed Leo entirely and focused on me. "Can't you even watch a child, Elara?" she sneered. "If my grandson had been hurt, I'd sue you." I was too weak to respond, my back agony, every breath a struggle. Anya, my daughter, arrived next, panic in her eyes as she rushed past me to Leo. She spoke to the doctors, then turned to the medical staff with a cool, detached concern. "My mother-in-law has high blood pressure. Could you check her vitals?" She didn't look at me, not a word of comfort. As I lay there, invisible, a thought pushed through the pain. Maybe it's time I started living for myself. The doctor rushed in, calling for immediate surgery on me due to the blood loss. Anya seemed confused. "But Leo just has scrapes," she protested, until the nurse clarified that I was the one in critical condition, not Leo. Anya hesitated, then handed the nurse the form to sign. Meanwhile, Beatrice mocked me loudly, accusing me of faking my injury to avoid responsibility. Anya looked at me, her face torn, but she said nothing to defend me. Finally, she murmured, "Let's focus on getting her treated. We can talk later." I reached out to her, calling her by her birth name, Rachel, hoping to reach the daughter I once knew. "Don't worry about me. Stay with Leo. He needs you." She didn't meet my gaze for long, but her eyes shimmered with unshed tears. As anesthesia took hold, I drifted into a peaceful void, the harsh hospital world fading away. When I woke, the world was softer, muted. A woman in the bed next to me greeted me gently. "You bounced back quickly. My mom had the same injury. She was out for 2 days." I managed a hoarse whisper, asking about Hanya. "She went with her mother-in-law for medication," the woman replied. "She said she'd be back soon." Even in her absence, Beatrice's dominance was evident. I lay in the hospital bed, feeling the heavy weight of the splint on my leg. The nurse checked my vitals casually, dismissing the trauma I had experienced. "Just a minor fracture, some abrasions and blood loss. Nothing serious. You'll be fine in about 10 days, she said. I exhaled, realizing how tense I had been. But my first thoughts weren't about my own injuries. They were about Anya, Marcus, and Leo. They needed me to recover quickly. I had to get back on my feet, back to holding everything together for them. Then I heard Beatrice's voice from the hallway, sharp and accusing. "Anya, you need to talk to your mother. She can't be this careless with Leo. If he gets hurt because of her, I'll make sure she pays for it." Anya responded meekly, agreeing to talk to me, promising it wouldn't happen again. Beatrice wasn't done. "Who's going to handle the housework now? Who will take care of Leo when you're at work? You better make sure your mother heals quickly." Her words suffocated the room, and I couldn't escape them. I rolled over, trying to hide my tears in the pillow. But what hurt the most was Anya's final, casual dismissal. "She knows her place." Her words cut through me like a physical blow. My place. It was the place I had known all too well for the past 3 years. Living as an unpaid maid, nanny, and caretaker, sacrificing my own life for theirs. Beatrice entered with a slice of white bread and mustard, claiming it was my favorite. "It's simple filling, better than hospital food," she said, as if she were doing me a favor. "Clara, in the next bed, couldn't believe it. She just had surgery. She needs something nutritious, not that. But Anya chuckled and dismissed it, framing my supposed favorite snack as a quirky detail. The pain I felt wasn't from surgery. It was from the memory of Anya, years ago, crying to me about Beatrice forcing her to eat mustard on toast during her pregnancy. It wasn't care. It was control. I stayed silent, but the pain of that memory twisted in me, sharper than any physical injury. Beatrice's gesture wasn't kindness. It was a power play, a reminder of my place. And Anya, by accepting it, was complicit. I said nothing, just stared at the bread and mustard, a bitter taste filling my mouth. Anya's hand gently touched my arm, her touch light, hesitant. "Mom," she said, her voice soft, a return to that strained, controlled tone. "You don't like it? Beatrice made it specially for you." Her eyes pleaded with me, a silent, familiar plea I knew all too well. "Don't cause trouble. Don't make a scene. Don't embarrass me. Just like back in their house. Every time Marcus complained, the food was too salty or too bland, even though he had requested it. Every time I didn't sterilize the baby bottles 10 times over, as Beatrice insisted was necessary. Every time Leo cried because I let him play too long, and he scraped his knee or threw a tantrum from being overtired. Anya would give me that same look, yielding, apologetic to them, silently begging me not to ruin the fragile peace she tried so desperately to maintain, a peace that always came at my expense. But this time, I couldn't do it, not anymore, not after what she had said in the hallway, not after the pain in my back, the pain in my heart. I lay in the hospital bed, my leg in a heavy splint. The nurse checked my vitals casually, dismissing the severity of my injuries. "Minor fracture, some abrasions and blood loss, but nothing serious. You'll be fine in 10 days, she said. I exhaled, my first thought going to Anya, Marcus, and Leo. I needed to recover quickly. They depended on me. Then I heard Beatrice's voice in the hallway, sharp and accusing. "Anya, you need to talk to your mother. She can't keep being this careless with Leo." Anya responded meekly, agreeing to talk to me. Beatrice wasn't done. Who's going to handle the housework? Who's going to watch Leo? No one has time to babysit her. She better heal fast. I rolled over in pain, tears falling as I heard Anya's final words, soft but crushing. She knows her place. The words hit me harder than the accident. For the past 3 years, I had sacrificed my life for them, cooking, cleaning, caring for Leo, and this was how she saw me. Beatrice entered with a slice of white bread and mustard, claiming it was my favorite. Clara, in the next bed, was shocked. She needs nutrients, not that. But Anya dismissed it, making it sound like a harmless quirk of mine. I remembered the years of Anya crying to me about Beatrice's control, and now I saw it for what it was. Beatrice asserting power over me, and Anya complicit in it. I refused to play along. When Anya tried to defend the bread and mustard, I told her calmly, "It's not food for healing, it's empty calories." Beatrice sneered and stormed out. Then Marcus entered, dropping the hospital bills on my bedside table. "Pay me back as soon as you're discharged," he demanded, his tone businesslike and cold. The weight of the bills, combined with his words, left me speechless. Anya, panicked, turned to me. "Are you happy now, Mom? You've made everything worse. You pissed off Marcus and his family." She didn't care about my injuries. Then her phone rang, Marcus demanding his money. Anya hurriedly agreed to transfer it. Suddenly, something snapped inside me. I grabbed the water glass and hurled it at her, the cold liquid splashing across her face. "Get out. I never want to see you again." Anya stood there, stunned, then whispered, "What's wrong with you?" I dialed Julian's number, finally reaching out for the support I had denied myself. "Come take me home," I choked out, tears streaming down my face. Anya lunged for the phone, but in the struggle, Julian's voice rang out through the room, sharp and protective. "Do you have any idea how much your mother sacrificed for you? You made your choice, and now she's choosing herself." The next morning, Julian called to confirm he and Finn would pick me up at sunrise. I felt a strange calm, knowing I was making the right choice. Clara, hearing my stomach growl, offered to get me something to eat. Her small kindness meant more to me than years of neglect from my family. As they left, the room fell silent, and for the first time in a long time, I felt a sense of peace settling in. Suddenly, the curtain around my bed was yanked shut with surprising force, and Anya dropped to her knees beside me, her face pale and desperate, her eyes wide and glistening with fresh tears. It was another performance, but this time, the desperation felt real. "Mom," she whispered, her voice low and urgent, pleading. "Mom, please don't do this. You know my job is unstable. I barely make enough to scrape by. Marcus earns more, sure, but his mom's health is really bad now. Half of what he makes goes directly into her medication and living expenses. We're drowning, Mom." Her eyes gleamed with a frantic, calculating hope. "If you leave, what about Leo? What about me? How can you just abandon us? How can you stand to watch me, your daughter, a woman, try to hold this family together all alone in a city where I have no one, absolutely no one? How could I bear it? Of course I couldn't." It was precisely because I couldn't bear the thought of her struggling, of Leo not having the support he needed, that I ended up here, broken and bleeding in this hospital bed in the first place. It was my inability to say no, my ingrained self-sacrifice, my misplaced sense of responsibility. But that was the old me. I slowly turned my head, avoiding her gaze, focusing on the muted sunlight coming through the window. My voice was low but resolute, steady. "Anya," I said, using her name again, a sign that I acknowledged her presence but not the emotional blackmail. "If you still consider me your mother, if there's even a sliver of genuine love or respect left in you after everything that's happened, go home and start packing up my things. Just the essential clothes, my books, a few personal items. When your father arrives tomorrow morning, I'm leaving with him, and I'm not coming back." I paused for a breath, the weight of the finality in my words settling over me. Then I added, even more calmly, removing the last vestige of emotional reaction from my voice, "Maybe one day, years from now, when my back heals completely and I've completely lost my mind, maybe then I'll come back and play your servant again. But right now, all I want, all I need, is to go home, to my real home. Your father and I have been together for over 30 years. This is the longest we have ever spent apart, all because of you, all because I came here." Anya stood frozen, kneeling beside the bed, her tears suspended on her cheeks as if stunned into stillness by the quiet, absolute finality of my words. You're really leaving?" she muttered, the dramatic pleading draining away, replaced by a stunned disbelief. "Even after I begged you like this, even after I told you I have no one, you call yourself a mother? You would leave me to drown alone with Leo?" I clenched my jaw, the muscles aching. I stared at her, this child I had protected and cherished every day of her life, the child for whom I had sacrificed my own happiness, my own future. "You're a mother now too, Anya," I said, my voice quiet but firm, throwing her own question back at her. "And you want to ask if I'm worthy? If I'm a real mother? Ask yourself, Anya, are you? For 3 years, who stayed up all night with your son when he was sick, when he was teething, when he couldn't sleep? Who used their retirement savings, their hard-earned money, to support your whole household, to keep a roof over your head, food on your table, and clothes on your backs? You dumped your child on me, expected me to take over the role of mother entirely, and couldn't even bring yourself to say thank you. Not once did you ask if I was tired, if I was overwhelmed, if I was lonely, if I was happy." Anya shot to her feet, teeth clenched, her face contorted with a mixture of anger and desperation. "So, you're really doing this?" she demanded, her voice sharp, accusatory. "You're abandoning us?" I nodded without hesitation, holding her gaze. There was no wavering. The decision was made. She inhaled deeply, a shaky, ragged breath, then said, as if she had finally, decisively, made up her mind, as if this were a perfectly reasonable transaction, "Then you have to leave your pension card behind. I'm struggling here, Mom. I'm in a city I barely know, with no family support, on a salary that's nothing. Marcus's money is tied up. We were counting on your pension to get by, Give me your card, and I'll let you go. It's the least you can do." I stared at her, stunned into silence for the second time that day. My throat closed up, thick with disbelief and a fresh wave of pain. Not physical this time, but a deep, aching sorrow. She was actually standing at my bedside, the daughter I had raised, the woman whose life I had propped up for years, measuring my right to leave, my right to reclaim my own life, against a plastic card and a bank balance. A piece of plastic. My worth, my sacrifice, reduced to a number on a bank statement. I had raised her to be honest, to work hard, to stand on her own 2 feet. I had sacrificed to get her into a top college, paid for her tuition, sent her money every month on time, without fail. Then, sophomore year, she showed up pregnant, dropped out, no explanation, just moved in with Marcus. I thought she was suffering. I thought she was lost, so I softened. I opened my wallet, increased her allowance from $2,000 to $4,000 a month. Every break she claimed she'd be working, building her future. I believed her, never questioned it. Not until after Leo was born did the truth slowly emerge. Marcus hadn't finished school. He was drifting, constantly traveling for some ill-defined job. She had dived headfirst into a marriage without even a wedding, without finishing her degree, without a plan. His mother, Beatrice, had called my daughter shameful to my face, said she had ruined her son's future, trapped him. I, who had lived a clean, honest, respectable life, had to endure that kind of humiliation in my old age. I swallowed it all for Anya, told myself she was just lost, misguided, and I, her mother, was her last safety net, her only hope. But now, here she stood, not asking how I was feeling, not expressing gratitude for what I had done, just demanding my money, treating my pension as an inheritance she was entitled to, even before I was gone. Is this truly the daughter I raised with my own hands? The daughter I loved more than life itself? I opened my mouth, 1,000 painful questions forming, but before I could say anything, she said coldly, her eyes hard, completely devoid of the pleading she had used moments before, "If you won't agree, then I'll discharge you tomorrow morning. Myself. I'll tell them you're fine, that you just need to rest at home. I'll hide your phone, and let's see how Dad's going to take you home when he gets here." That was who she was. Bold only when it came to threatening me, when it came to leveraging my love and my fear of her consequences against me. The manipulation was so blatant, so cruel, it took my breath away. I said nothing, just stared at her for a long moment, the silence stretching between us, heavy with the weight of all that was unsaid, all that was broken. Then, slowly, deliberately, I nodded, and with a trembling hand, I reached into the bedside table and handed her the pension card, the small plastic rectangle that represented my financial security, my independence, my future. Anya's face lit up as if she had hit the jackpot, the transformation startling in its suddenness. The anger and desperation vanished, replaced by a triumphant smile. She snatched the card from my hand. "Mom," she said, her voice suddenly sweet, almost syrupy. "Mom, I knew you'd come through for me. I knew you wouldn't abandon us. Thank you." So, I was only a good mother, only a source of comfort and security, if I gave her money. Anya was a fool, a naive, self-absorbed fool. Did she not know that a pension is tied to the person, the individual, not the plastic card? Once I reported it lost or stolen and requested a replacement, what she had was just a piece of worthless plastic, a useless souvenir of her attempted theft. But I didn't plan to teach her that lesson. Not anymore. She would learn it the hard way, as she seemed determined to learn every lesson. I would just take this as the final price I paid, the cost of tuition for the painful education I had received in the true nature of ungratefulness and misplaced devotion. The price paid for raising a child who only opened her mouth to demand more, to take without thanks, to consume without reciprocating. After getting the card, she moved with shocking efficiency, as if eager to complete the transaction and make her escape before I changed my mind or Julian arrived. Within 2 hours, all my belongings, neatly packed into a single suitcase and a couple of shopping bags, had been gathered from her apartment and delivered to my hospital room by Marcus. He left them inside the door without entering, a brief, silent exchange with the nurse, and then he was gone. Anya even tossed in a bottle of milk and a pack of energy bars with a generous, performative air, placing them on the bedside table where the bread and mustard had been. "Here, Mom," she said, her voice still falsely sweet. "Something to snack on tomorrow for your trip." I didn't respond. I couldn't. The words were stuck in my throat. She didn't say anything else, didn't linger, didn't make eye contact. She just gently closed the hospital door behind her and walked out of my life. The truth is, I never expected anything from Anya. Not gratitude, not repayment for the money or the years of service. All I ever truly wanted, all I ever hoped for, was respect. The acknowledgement of my humanity, of my sacrifices, of my love. But she took every ounce of love and patience I had to give and wrung it dry, leaving nothing but an empty, aching void. For the rest of my life, I vowed in that silent room, I would live only for myself, for Julian, for the life we deserved. As I settled into Finn's car the next morning, the sunrise painting the sky in soft hues of pink and orange, and watched the hospital shrink away in the rearview mirror, becoming smaller and smaller, until it was just another building in the distance, the entire city gradually fading like the backdrop of an old, forgotten photograph. I felt it for the first time in years, a lightness in my chest, a lifting of a weight I had carried for so long I had forgotten what it felt like to be unburdened. I was free. Coming home felt like waking up as someone entirely new. The house felt different, even though it was filled with our familiar things. It felt like ours again. Julian cooked me nutritious meals in all kinds of creative, delicious ways, fussing over me with a tenderness that brought tears to my eyes. He even hired a physical therapist to come to the house and help with my shoulder and back recovery, ensuring I regained full mobility. Within 2 weeks, I was up and walking on my own, slowly at first, then with increasing confidence. One afternoon, as I paced slow circles in the living room for exercise, building my strength, Julian sat watching me from his armchair, a book open on his lap, but his eyes fixed on me. His eyes were suddenly glistening with unshed tears, reflecting the sunlight streaming through the window. "Elara," he said quietly, his voice thick with emotion, "we're not young anymore. We're getting old. Wherever we go from now on, whatever we do, we go together. No more sacrificing, no more living apart." A lump rose in my throat, a painful counterpoint to the healing in my back. Before I could answer, he reached over and handed me a tissue. "It was my fault too," he added, his voice soft, accepting his share of the blame. "I was so frustrated with Anya, with the situation, with feeling helpless. I didn't want to move with you at the time. I was being stubborn, but you couldn't let her go. You felt you had to be there. But I should have insisted. I should have supported you better. If you still, even now, wanted to care for her, wanted to stay, then I would have been the one to care for you, no matter what. But look at you." He looked down at me with so much tenderness in his voice, in his eyes. "You were only at her place for 2 years, and your hair's turned completely white. It was too much for you." I grinned, a genuine, happy smile, something that had felt impossible just weeks before. "You're still blaming me for letting our daughter have a baby in college, aren't you?" He cleared his throat, scratching his head sheepishly. "Not blaming, not exactly. More, I just feel sorry for her. She worked so hard in school, she had so much potential, and then she married and had a child so young, before she was ready. She never even had a chance to figure herself out, to see the world before she got stuck, tied down." I gently held his strong, calloused hand, the hand of a man who had worked hard his entire life, who had built things, repaired things, who had always been my rock. "Do you remember, Julian? Before you retired, before all this happened, we talked about it for years. You said that when we were both done working, when we were finally free, we'd settle in Cypress Cove, find a quiet little place, build our retirement together. Do you still remember that dream? Do you still want that?" He sighed, a long, weary sound, but there was a hint of hope in it. You could never let go of Anya, Elara. What was the point of me coming here alone? It wouldn't have been the same without you. I shook my head slowly, firmly. The time for hesitation was over. I've let go now, for real this time. The cord is cut. I won't look back, not anymore. I want to go with you to Cypress Cove. I want to make it our home. Together. Just you and me. His eyes blinked, as if he couldn't quite believe what he was hearing. A slow smile spread across his face, radiating pure joy. You mean it? You mean it? Even Leo? You won't see him anymore. Can you really do that? I nodded, the decision firm and clear in my mind, painful but necessary. Don't you remember what his grandmother said, Julian? Loud enough for the whole hallway to hear. She made it crystal clear. Leo is a Dubois, not a Warren, not an Albright. He belongs to their family. When I had that accident, if I had died, or even been seriously hurt, and if Leo had gotten so much as a bruise, how would I have faced the Dubois family? They made it clear they would have held me accountable. They have claimed him. And as for Anya, I paused, the words weighing heavy on my tongue. We've done our duty as parents. We raised her, we educated her, we supported her, financially and emotionally, for her entire life. We gave her every opportunity. Everything in her life now, her marriage, her financial situation, her choices. It's all her own doing. She's an adult. It's time she learns to take responsibility for her own life, to sink or swim on her own merits. I can't save her anymore, and I won't try. We went to the bank together a few days later. It felt like a symbolic act, a reclaiming of my financial independence, my agency. We opened a new joint retirement account, a fresh start. The old pension card I had given Anya was permanently cancelled, reported as lost. The doctor said my recovery was excellent, a testament to my underlying health and determination. My follow-up appointments were clear, so we booked our long-awaited flight to Cypress Cove. We had talked about this dream for years, envisioned it in detail, and now, after a painful detour, it was finally happening. A few of our retired friends from back home had already settled there, drawn by the same promise of peace and natural beauty, and with their help, we quickly found and bought a little house with a small yard, just as we had always planned. We threw ourselves into making it our home. We planted flowers, bright splashes of color against the backdrop of the mountains. We grew herbs in little pots on the kitchen windowsill, their fragrant leaves a constant source of fresh flavor. We even set up a clothesline in the backyard, a simple, old-fashioned luxury. Julian insisted on installing it himself, digging the holes, cementing the posts, ensuring it was sturdy enough to withstand the mountain winds. On sunny mornings, we would hang our laundry out to dry, the sheets snapping in the clean, dry air, the simple domestic ritual feeling like a profound act of freedom. We bought bicycles and biked up scenic trails that twisted through the hills under that same clean, dry air, our lungs burning slightly from the altitude, but our spirits soaring. After it rained, we joined our neighbors, who had become our friends, to hunt for wild mushrooms in the damp forests. At first, we kept picking the wrong ones, beautiful but poisonous specimens, and the locals would laugh, their voices warm and teasing. "Oh, Elara, Julian, you two are still picking the pretty ones. The prettier the mushroom, the deadlier it is, remember." But we just laughed with them, unable to stop smiling, because more than the thrill of finding the mushrooms, more than the taste of the edible ones, it was the teasing, the learning, the shared laughter, the sense of belonging that made us feel truly alive. One day, our neighbors, the Rodriguezes, hosted a backyard pig roast and insisted we come. We sat at the edge of their garden, plates piled high with delicious food, happily munching away, surrounded by the warm sounds of laughter and conversation. And suddenly it hit me, a wave of emotion so strong it stole my breath for a moment. These people, this community, reminded me so much of who Julian and I used to be, of the life we used to live before the constant demands and dramas took over. We were once the kind of people who threw dinner parties without worrying about messes or noise, who embraced the chaos of life instead of hiding from it, who found joy in simple pleasures and shared experiences. And in this new life, one honest, ordinary day at a time, filled with sunshine, laughter, and the simple routine of gardening and biking, I found myself gradually forgetting what Anya had put me through, the constant anxiety, the pain, the hurt. The sharp edges of the memories began to soften, fading into a dull ache, until the day my pension payment was due. The phone rang furiously, an insistent, jarring sound that cut through the quiet afternoon. It was her, Anya. Her voice was panicked, shrill, bordering on hysterical, just like the day she had called me, pregnant and alone. "Mom! Mom! What did you do? My pension payment didn't come. It's always in by the 10th of the month. I went to the bank, and they said you cancelled the card. They said the account was closed." Before I could respond, before I could even form a single word, Julian, who had been sitting beside me on the porch swing, snatched the phone from my hand, his face hardening instantly. His voice when he spoke was calm and steady, but there was an iron core to it. "Anya, listen to me, and listen carefully. Your mother cancelled that old card, yes, and she opened a new one, a new account. Her money is safe, but it is hers, and hers alone. If you've got time to make phone calls and complain, maybe you should use that time to find a job, a stable one. Stop hovering over your mother's pension like a vulture waiting for her to die. Stop expecting her to fix your problems." There was a stunned beat of silence on the line, then an explosion. Anya's voice, a torrent of pure fury and desperation, shrieked through the receiver, loud enough to hear even from where I sat. "How can you say that? How can you be so cruel? If I don't have money, how do you expect me to survive? How is Leo supposed to eat? How am I supposed to pay for anything? You're both heartless. You're abandoning your own family." Julian didn't respond. He didn't argue. He didn't engage with the emotional manipulation. He just ended the call in one clean, decisive motion, his thumb pressing the button firmly. He turned to me, his face flushed with residual anger, his eyes still sharp with the recent confrontation. "Elara," he said, his voice rough, "you can't go soft again. Don't let her get to you. Have you forgotten? That day in the hospital hallway, when you were lying there, bleeding, when Beatrice was attacking you, she didn't say a single word in your defense. She asked about her mother-in-law's blood pressure. Don't you forget that?" I gently patted his hand, trying to soothe his anger, though a knot of tension had formed in my own stomach at hearing Anya's voice again. "Didn't the doctor say you shouldn't get worked up, old man?" I said softly, a small smile playing on my lips. "Let her shout all she wants. Let her scream and rage. She can't scream loud enough to crack our windows from there. She can't reach us here." Julian finally relaxed, the tension draining slowly from his face, his expression softening as he looked at me. He took a deep breath. "You're right," he said, a weary sigh escaping his lips. "We have our life now, and she has to own hers, her choices, her consequences." Just 2 days into our newfound peace, the phone rang again. We hesitated, looking at each other, but decided to answer. This time it was Marcus. His voice was clipped, impatient. "Elara," he said, his tone immediately demanding, skipping any pleasantries. "When are you going to pay back the hospital bill? The $8,700? And what? You think you can just vanish while Leo keeps asking for his grandma? He misses you, you know. We both have jobs. You know that, right? We can't just drop everything to look after him." I actually laughed, a short, sharp, cold sound that surprised even myself. After everything, his focus was still on the money he thought he was owed, and on leveraging Leo's supposed longing against me. "If my daughter turned out this way, Marcus, I could take part of the blame. I raised her. But you," my voice grew colder, harder, "who do you think you are? Demanding money from me after everything? You want to talk money? Fine, let's talk. Let's talk about what you owe me." After Anya gave birth, I paid $15,000 for her postpartum recovery suite, against my better judgment, because you insisted it was necessary and you couldn't afford it. Every can of formula, every box of diapers, every jar of baby food since Leo was born, for 3 years, I bought them. Would you like me to forward you the receipts? I kept them all, every single one. He cut me off, impatient, as if he were brushing off a persistent debt collector with inconvenient facts. I'm not talking about that. That was for them. I'm talking about the hospital bill I covered when you were admitted. For your accident. I let out another cold laugh. He wanted to dig through the past, weaponize every transaction. Fine. I had a whole archive of grievances, a detailed ledger of his and Anya's debts, both financial and emotional. All right, Marcus, let's calculate what I'm owed for the last 2 years of cooking, laundry, cleaning, and full-time babysitting in your house. Let's go with the standard market rate for a full-time living nanny in your city. I looked it up. $6,000 a month seems a reasonable starting point. What is that? Over $140,000? Does that sound about right? My voice grew colder, the amusement gone, replaced by a hard, unwavering resolve. And let's not forget the $2,000 I gave you towards that down payment on the car you bought right after Leo was born, the one you said you needed for work. Still have the IOU you signed, Marcus. It's in my desk drawer here in Cypress Cove. Legally binding. Dated and signed by you. Shall we add interest? I heard a pause on his end, a swallowed breath. The bluster was gone, replaced by a grudging realization that I had the receipts, both literal and figurative. When he spoke again, his tone had softened, shifting from demand to a pathetic whine. Elara, I'm not trying to start a fight, honestly. It's just, we're really out of options here. We have no one. No one's around to watch Leo, and daycare costs $10,000 a year. We're drowning here. We just thought maybe you could help. Like before. I exhaled, sharp and quiet, the sound barely audible. Save it, Marcus. Don't call me again. Ever. And if you harass me, if you or Anya contact me one more time, demanding money, or expecting me to solve your problems, I will take you to court. I will sue you for what you owe me for the past 3 years of unpaid domestic labor and childcare. I will sue you for the car loan, and I will win. Do you understand? Leave us alone. I hung up before he could respond and immediately blocked his number, adding it to the growing list of blocked contacts that included Anya and Beatrice. That day, after the call, I felt a little low, a residue of the unpleasantness clinging to me. Julian didn't say much, just gave me space, knowing I needed to process it. The next morning, sensing my mood, he rented a car and told me he was taking me out for some air, a change of scenery. We drove to a little town called Silver Creek, nestled higher in the mountains. It was small and serene, like a place time had forgotten, quiet and picturesque. We stopped by High Peak Mountain, a majestic peak that dominated the landscape. The wind on the slopes was cold and sharp, biting at our cheeks, but the air was thin and crystal clear, invigorating. We hiked part of the way up, the climb challenging but rewarding, the views breathtaking. Halfway up we stopped and took a photo together, framed by endless snow-capped peaks stretching into the distance and the sun spilling gold across our faces. It felt like a seal stamped on this new chapter of our lives, a tangible memory of our freedom, our shared adventure. On the drive back, as the sun began to dip below the horizon, Julian's phone rang. He answered it, and his brow furrowed. It was Martha, our neighborhood property manager in Cypress Cove, her voice sounding stressed. Julian, Mrs. Warren, your daughter Anya, she called us. She's at your house in Cypress Cove. She asked us to open it for her. She says she's back. Julian and I exchanged a look, a shared understanding passing between us without a word. He glanced at me, his eyes asking the question. I gave him a firm smile, resolute. Let me speak to her, Martha. Martha put Anya on the phone. Her voice, when she spoke, was thick with dramatic sobs, immediately launching into a fresh wave of accusations and self-pity. Mom, how could you be so cruel? I haven't been home in just 3 years. And you already changed the locks. You wouldn't let me in. To my own home. I laughed bitterly, the sound devoid of humor. You have the audacity to say that, Anya. To call our house your home, after breaking into it? You dropped out of college, threw yourself headfirst into a marriage that clearly chewed you up and spit you out, refused every offer of help that came with any kind of boundaries, and now you're blaming me for being heartless. For protecting the home Julian and I built. She broke down completely over the phone, her sobs escalating into a full-blown wail. Mom, I left him. I'm done with Marcus. I couldn't take it anymore. I brought Leo back with me. We have nowhere to go. I'm begging you, Mom, please. I swear I'll listen this time. I won't go back to him. I won't ask for money. Just, please, let us come home. I blinked, raising an eyebrow, skeptical of her sudden capitulation. You quit your job? She sniffled, her voice wavering between sobs and resentment. After you left, there was no one to watch Leo. Marcus was traveling, his mom was sick. Daycare was 10 grand a year. I couldn't afford it on my salary. Marcus called you and you blocked him. He got mad and said, fine, if your mother isn't going to help, just quit your job and take care of the kid yourself. But I didn't have a choice, Mom. He made me. I rolled my eyes so hard I nearly gave myself a headache. The perpetual victim, always someone else's fault. So, you actually quit your job? I repeated, needing to hear her confirm her monumental foolishness. Anya's voice turned resentful through her tears, abandoning the facade of helplessness for a moment of genuine anger. Yes, I have no income now. Marcus's money all goes to his mother. She needs constant care and medication. We were counting on your pension to get by, Mum. And then you cancelled the damn card. You cut us off completely. Her voice rose again, a desperate, furious wail, a mixture of anger and naked need. He gives me $20 a day for food. What the hell am I supposed to do with that? I yelled at him, told him it wasn't enough, and he told me to get out. So I packed up and left with Leo. And I'm not going back unless he comes here and begs me to. I closed my eyes for a moment, taking a deep, steadying breath, forcing my own rising fury back down. Even now, even in this crisis she had largely created for herself, she was waiting for someone else to fix it, waiting for Marcus to beg her, waiting for me to rescue her. What on earth did I do in my past life to earn a daughter who treated her entire existence like a dramatic standoff, a perpetual negotiation for crumbs of attention or support? Put the property manager back on the phone, I said, my voice flat, weary. There was a pause on the line, a muffled exchange, and then the weary, slightly exasperated voice of Martha came back on. Miss Warren? She gave me the phone back. How do you want us to handle this? She and the little boy are sitting on your porch. My tone was firm now, every word like a nail driven into the floor, leaving no room for doubt or negotiation. Do not, under any circumstances, open the door for her. That house is under Julian and Elara Warren's names only. We are not home, and no one, absolutely no one, is authorized to enter that property without us being present or giving explicit written permission. Not even my own daughter. Do you understand, Martha? I knew Anya far too well. Give her 5 minutes alone in that house, with a sympathetic ear or a moment of weakness, and she'd be inviting Marcus back in, handing over power of attorney, running up bills in our name, or subletting our home behind our backs. We'd be the ones left holding the bag, dealing with the legal and financial fallout. I had learned this the hard way, through years of painful experience. Some children don't turn out this way because you didn't teach them the right values, didn't set clear expectations. They turn out this way because they simply never wanted to learn, never intended to live by those values, always looking for the easiest path, the next person to bail them out. I thought the drama had finally blown over, that my clear boundaries and Julian's refusal to engage would be enough. But just a few days later, Anya's video on social media went viral, spreading like wildfire through the internet's insatiable appetite for human drama and perceived injustice. The footage itself was carefully crafted for maximum impact. It was set inside what was clearly a dim, neglected, mold-stained house, deliberately filmed to emphasize peeling paint on the walls, broken furniture covered in dust sheets, and a general air of decay and poverty. Laid over the video were photos of Julian and me, captured during our recent trip to the mountains and our early days in Cypress Cove. Photos of us hiking, smiling under bright mountain sunlight, pictures taken by enthusiastic neighbors at the craft market, images that radiated health, happiness, and financial security. The caption accompanying the video was short, punchy, and calculated to elicit maximum outrage. While my parents vacation and live their best life in luxury, my child and I are forced to spend the poorest Christmas imaginable in a rotting, unsafe house with no heat. Heartless parents, abandoned, struggling mom, Josh, a family betrayal. The comment section exploded instantly. Just 2 days prior, a young girl at the local craft market in Cypress Cove had posted a short, sweet video of us, Julian and me, sitting at our little booth, focused and happy, making beaded bracelets for tourists. She'd captioned it warmly, "The sweetest retired couple weaving beautiful bracelets and sharing stories. Free chats, real-life goals. Made my day." People quickly made the connection. Isn't that the same Granny Elara from the bracelet video? The sweet old lady. Her daughter says they're homeless and living in a dump while her parents are rich and travel. What's going on? That's when the judgment, swift and merciless, started flooding in, not just online, but indirectly, through confused and sometimes accusatory messages from distant relatives and old acquaintances who saw the viral posts. "How can parents be so heartless?" the comments screamed. Their own daughter is struggling with a kid in a dump, potentially freezing, and they're off living their best life, hiking and looking smug. This is disgusting. Anya had caught on to the algorithm, to the power of online narratives and curated victimhood. She posted again, this time a direct-to-camera video, her face close to the lens, her voice trembling with carefully controlled emotion. "I never finished college. My parents forced me into a terrible marriage to get rid of me, and then they abandoned me completely when I needed them most. They took everything from me." It lit the comment section on fire, amplifying the outrage. "Classic narcissistic parents," commented one person. "This isn't love, it's control and manipulation," wrote another. "Looks like they care more about appearances and their own comfort than they do about their own flesh and blood." And then Marcus, predictably, jumped into the circus, adding fuel to the flames and attempting to salvage his own reputation by aligning himself with the perceived victim. He uploaded a photo of my hospital bill, the one for $8,700, my name clearly printed at the top as the patient. His caption was brief and damning. "They took all the money we had saved, but I was the one who paid for her expensive medical treatment after her accident. We're barely surviving, struggling to keep a roof over our heads and food on the table for our son, because they drained us dry and then abandoned us. If our marriage fails, if our family falls apart, it's because of what they did to us, because of their selfishness and cruelty." Julian and I stood outside the train station in Jackson Hole, where we had traveled for a few days of hiking and a change of scenery after the confrontation in Cypress Cove. Each of us rolled a suitcase behind us, the sound echoing in the quiet morning. The cold mountain air bit into our skin, sharp and invigorating, but our hearts felt strangely light, detached from the online storm raging thousands of miles away. Julian looked at me, a wry, half-smiling expression on his face. "Well, look at that," he said quietly, nodding towards his phone screen, which showed snippets of the viral posts he had just seen. Back to fighting side by side, after all that drama about separating. If nothing else, they finally found some common ground to unite them, complaining about us. We exchanged a look, a shared understanding passing between us, and laughed. It was a tired kind of laugh, perhaps, tinged with bitterness, but also with a strange sense of freedom. Turns out, all that talk about the unbreakable ties of family, it only truly binds the people who still care enough to be bound. And we didn't. Not anymore. Not in the way they demanded, not at the expense of our own well-being. So, we turned off our phone notifications, packed our bags, and caught the next train, heading further into the quiet, snow-covered mountains. The scenery passing by the window was majestic. The snowed-in nights in the remote lodge were peaceful and silent. Julian and I hiked, laughed, read by the fire, and acted like teenagers for a few days, deliberately disconnecting from the outside world, from the manufactured drama, from the expectations. We gave ourselves permission to simply be together, without guilt or obligation. We stayed until New Year's Eve, deliberately choosing to be alone together, marking the passage of time on our own terms, before finally making our way back home to Cypress Cove, refreshed and resolute. We stepped out of the taxi just as the driver pulled away from the curb in front of our house. The crunch of tires on gravel was loud in the still air. I reached into my pocket for the house key, my fingers closing around the cool metal, and then I froze. A sharp voice was screeching from inside our house, muffled by the walls but undeniably Anya's, thin and piercing with fury. Julian's jaw tightened instantly. He whipped out his phone and called Martha, the property manager, his movements economical and precise. Before he even finished dialing, before he could get a reply, the front door swung open with a violent jerk. Anya stood there, framed by the familiar entryway, her hair disheveled, face streaked with what looked like old tears and fresh mascara, her eyes wide with accusation and panic as she saw us standing there, suitcases in hand, on our own porch. "What the hell are you doing here?" she shrieked, as if we were the trespassers. Leo, thankfully, wasn't in sight, presumably somewhere deeper in the house. Julian lowered his phone slowly. His eyes, usually warm, were now hard and sharp as flint, fixed solely on his daughter. "Anya, what are you doing in our house? We explicitly told Martha not to let anyone in. We changed the locks." Marcus shuffled nervously, glancing between Julian and me. "She, found a way in. A back window wasn't locked." His voice faltered. "We just needed somewhere to stay. It's been tough." "Rough?" I repeated, my voice tight. "You broke into our house and you call it rough?" Anya stepped forward, her tone defensive. "Marcus kicked me out, and you wouldn't let me back in. What were we supposed to do? Sleep on the streets with Leo on New Year's Eve?" Julian's voice was cold as he responded. "You had choices, Anya. You chose to leave everything behind. You are trespassing." Marcus intervened, raising his voice. "She's your daughter. This is her family home." "No," I said firmly. "This is our home. You are breaking the law." Anya threw her hands up in frustration. "Always the lectures, always making us feel like criminals. Is this how you treat your own family? Is this how you treat the people who saved you?" Julian shot back, his voice rising. "We gave you everything, and you keep taking. You had no respect, no gratitude." Anya dropped to her knees, pulling Leo close and playing the victim. "See, Leo, they don't want us here. They don't love us." I stepped in front of them, my voice low but cutting. "Look at my back, Anya. Look at the scars. I gave up everything for you, and this is how you repay me? By breaking into my house. You owe me. You owe me for every moment I sacrificed, for the life I gave up to help you." Julian echoed my sentiment. "We gave everything, Anya. We're done." Anya screamed, "Fine, I'm not leaving." But Marcus, finally seeing the seriousness of the situation, tried to pull her away. "We need to go, Anya. Now." Martha arrived just as Anya was storming inside, explaining she had pushed past her and forced entry. "They broke in, Martha," Julian confirmed. Anya, realizing the gravity of the situation, still tried to play the victim. "We just needed a place to stay." Martha, seeing the situation clearly, said firmly, "Breaking in is serious. This is their private property, Anya." I stood my ground. "You'll leave now. You'll take nothing more. You have 10 minutes before we call the police." They reluctantly left, Anya yelling threats as they went. The silence that followed felt like a release. Julian checked the house while I stood on the porch, the weight of the situation lifting. We gathered their few belongings and left them outside. As we stood inside afterward, I felt the weight of the violation start to fade, replaced by a sense of clarity. "We'll clean," I said to Julian. "We'll open every window, sage the house, and reclaim our peace. We spent the next few days restoring our home, purging the bad energy. The house began to feel like ours again, the peaceful life we had fought for slowly returning. Martha reported the break-in, but we didn't press charges. We just wanted peace. Life in Cypress Cove returned to its peaceful rhythm. We made our home a sanctuary, finding joy in small things, morning tea, gardening, and quiet moments. The past felt distant. Our future was ours to shape. Leo occasionally crossed my mind, but not with the same ache. He was caught between his mother's anger and my pain. I had done all I could. The rest was Anya's responsibility. We found joy in our simple life, embracing each other and the world around us. The past had been hard, but it was over. We were free.